I wouldn't say I'm good at it. It's probably my worst subject.
In business, especially in the arts and online, there's this pressure to try and monetize your hobbies. Like, for instance, if you write songs, it's you should start recording them and post them on YouTube. Or if you do art, it's posted on Instagram. If you do acting, it's you should start trying to get your portfolio together. And I believe this is due to the individualistic, capitalistic society we live in which our worth is determined by our productivity. And any time spent not being productive is time in which our worth is declining.
Even though I was young at the time of the last recession, it was still talked about an awful lot, and I knew, I felt it. Everyone in the country could feel it, rather. And I think now there's only a certain amount of people feeling this recession. I don't feel like everyone's talking about it the way they were at the time of the last one. And like, for example, I am mad trying to find a job at the moment, and I'm applying everywhere and anywhere, putting in a CV, and I haven't gotten a single response back from anyone. Like, I'm going applying for everything online because I've gone into town every summer for the past 2 years with CVs and no one has given me a job. And I'm doing it this year, and I'd said I'd do it online, and I'm gonna get it, and I haven't. And my parents are looking at me like, why haven't you gotten a job? Why are you lazy? Why are you this? Why are you that? Everywhere's opening up again. This is the perfect time to get a job.
For the places that advertise they have jobs available, could be Centra, Spar, Tesco, literally could be wiping up dog shit. And they expect like maybe a year's worth of experience, maybe 2, maybe even 3. Like, literally, how the fuck am I supposed to get experience when nobody will hire because there's no experience? Like, it's literally so annoying. Like, the only way you can get a job right now is if A, you work for your family, or B, you know someone who's hiring. Like, it's so annoying because, like, what are we supposed to do after that? We're going into college. We're going to be shit broke. And they expect us to do all of this, and all of that, and all of this. But for real, nobody's going to hire anyone with no experience. And summer jobs, they're gone out the fucking window because of COVID. Because, like, there's no tourists. So there's no, like, money going into that sector. So everyone between the ages of 16 and maybe 20, completely fucked at the moment. Because we're shit broke, we can't do anything with our lives because fucking twats of employers will not hire.
I feel as if there's this pressure from society to be perfect and marketable in everything you do, which leads to creative burnout, in which you essentially drain yourself dry of any creativity, of any energy you may have. Whereas now it's like, oh, you'll draw me, right? I'll pay you an exposure. Because that deals with the bills and feeds the cats.
Jeff Bezos. I think there will always be a problem when the creative branch meets the marketing one. I'm a writer and I'm still stuck between the options of traditional versus self-publishing. With the former, I'm paid, but the publishing house has full control of the creative aspect of my work, and with the latter, I can write whatever I please, but I'll have to cover the expenses myself, including the marketing. The publishing industry is tricky, especially as a woman, since male authors sell better. People think this is just an issue of the past, with famous examples such as George Eliot and the Bronte sisters originally posing as men. But this issue is still prevalent in our modern post-feminist society, with women like S.E. Hinton and J.K. Rowling originally disguised as men, ascribing it as one of the defining reasons why they sold so well within their first year.
Jeff Bezos. Even though communism on paper is a nice idea, it relies on trusting that people will look out for each other and do things for the greater good, whereas capitalism relies on the basic instinct humans have to consume. It's just my 2 pence on the situation.
How people like Jeff Bezos can sleep at night. How can you go about your daily life with that much money? Money is supposed to go around. That's how an economy works. You make money, you spend it. You make money, you spend it. It's not meant to be stagnant. He has that much money because he's not spending it. He's just accumulating wealth upon wealth upon wealth. How can you keep that much money?
It works for rich white men. And that's all it'll ever work for, unless it changes.
But I feel like I won't have a choice in the future because it'll be a stable income. And I'll probably have to do it at some point in my life. And I don't really know how I would like that. But we'll see where life takes me.
I think I just find it infuriating because a lot of this opposition to social protection and welfare schemes oftentimes is rooted in classism. Welfare is the thing that enables class mobility and enables people to bring themselves out of poverty. And it makes sure that you can feed your kids so that they can eat properly, so they're not just living on shit, cheap food, so that they can go to school, so that they can do well in school and get a good job when they're older. And it all piles in, and it's extremely difficult to sustain yourself when you're living literally on the poverty line. Social protection helps us all as a nation, and I'm just glad that my tax money goes towards it, personally.
So, one of the main areas of social protection that I would know about is job seekers benefit. And for me, a lot of the information I got when I was younger made it seem like really bad. So when my grandparents would be talking about it, they'd always talk about all these lazy people who don't want to work. So they just steal from the government by signing up for the dole, and they should just get jobs like everyone else. And as I got older, I learned that isn't true. For the most part, it is people who do need it and who do want to work, but just physically can't due to whatever reason.
I think that's what should be prioritized, is that it should be something that's there to protect you when you need it, and be that the target and the plan is to get you into a position where you can protect yourself. And the fact that it's so controversial is insane to me, that people can't just look at it and say, yeah, it's a good thing, because of a certain percentage of people abusing the system. Like, my mother was, my mum was sorry, my words are gone from my head. My mum was a single mother with me when I was quite young, and we didn't have it very well. Like, she was working a job and had social welfare money coming from having me, single mother's allowance, and child benefit, and also working a job. And we were still barely above water, you know what I mean? It's still a struggle, or it was still difficult, and like, if you took all that away just because there's an X amount of or there's a proportion of people abusing the system, we wouldn't be in the situation we are now, where we're able to protect ourselves and we don't need social protection. Like, I think my family is a great example of what the system does right and what it can do.
Social protection is something that is hugely important to me. It has root in most of my political views and is something that is pretty much essential in my views on social politics. I always think that we can do more for social protection and I don't think it has ever been, nor will it ever be, my place to say that we have done enough. If you are anti-classism, then you have to be pro-social protection. People's lives are important, so social protection is important.
I don't really go to the islands because I have my mobile home down in Kerry and I'm fine with that. But when I've gone to them, oh, they're so fucking stunning. Like, I've gotten to them at least maybe once, twice maybe. But when I've gone to them, oh my God, they're fucking beautiful. Like, the scenery is, immaculate. No, but seriously, the scenery is so fucking stunning. And again, the people are so fucking nice.
I feel like the areas more cared for in terms of community development tend to be English speaking areas, and that's a little bit shady.
I'm down in West Clare right now and in Doonbeg, and it's very peaceful out here. It's not crowded at all. You can look out. It's just, you can admire the scenery. You're by the coast. It's in the countryside. It's very relaxing, and that's basically the main reason I wanted to come down here. To just be free of the stress of being down at Ayr. And I love it here. I just love it here more.
To do anything, it's like a half-hour drive there and then a half-hour drive back, so it's like an hour for me. I don't have any buses, I don't have any shops, I don't have any post office, I don't have a post box. We have nothing, we have to drive everywhere. Living in a rural community is really isolating, and it's also really hard to get across to people that I can't just go to the shop.
I want to work in media and arts, and everyone, the first thing someone says to me, how are you going to do that in Limerick? You need to move to Dublin, and how are you going to afford Dublin? And the fact that it's so daunting for me, knowing that it's going to be so difficult for me to work in this field if I choose to stay in my home county. And it's awful that there's so many people who want to work in certain professions but have this cloud of Dublin looming over their heads. Like, it's horrific. Dublin. We can't really break that unless there is some sort of systemic change, unless rural areas in Ireland are developed. And it's not just the rural areas. It's Limerick, it's Cork, it's Galway, cities that need to have the wealth shared from Dublin. It's needed. Like, if across the country there was a better share of wealth, there would be more opportunities for everyone across the board.
This is my story about seeing dolphins in Fenor. So we were all swimming along, and my best friend's mum turns around and she starts screaming, "Shark, shark, there's a shark." And I could see my mum jump up from where she was sitting on the beach and start staring into kind of the distance, trying to see the shark. And she's like, "Holy shit, that could be a shark." And my best friend and I were looking around trying to find this shark, and we saw like this fin in the distance, and my mom was like, "Wait, no, it's dolphin, it's a dolphin." And then there were multiple dolphins, and we're all just standing there staring at these dolphins like, what the fuck, what even? And I was about 8 at the time, and yeah, it was really cool, and I've actually seen dolphins. That was like, I'd say I was younger then, maybe about 7, and ever since then I need to sneeze. It's fine. And
orcas, they live in large social groups and travel around 34.37 kilometers a day, whereas in captivity all they can travel is around the tank that they were given. Not even given. The tank they were thrown into as a result of being taken away from their natural habitat, doing nothing but swimming in circles around the tank for our human enjoyment. But not only that, they are taken away from their families too, most likely to never see them again. And for what? Our entertainment for an hour at a time? These beautiful creatures are in dire need of our help. And what do we do for these animals and how they're being treated? What can we do?
There should be restriction laws on how many fishermen because of extinction and fish decline.
Yesterday I got a call to say that my grandmother was sick, like really sick. And there's a sense of uncertainty because nobody knows what's going on. But it got me thinking, my grandmother would take me and my cousins to Ballybunion every summer to the beach. And we would collect shells and we would play in the water, often just in our clothes because I probably forgot my swimsuit again. I could build sandcastles for hours on end, but be warned not to step on the jellyfish because you die if you got stung. Did I appreciate the things my grandmother did for me enough? Because I don't know what's going to happen next.
Our whole lives revolve around food, or for some people, the lack thereof. In contrast to the vast levels of hunger that exist at the moment, we have enough food. The food is there.
I keep catching myself saying, oh, I should look like how she does, or I should be as fit as she is. But thinking like that won't help me, but I think like that anyways. I struggled a lot with food when I was like 14 or 15, but I've gotten a good bit better since then, which is good.
I just wish I didn't overthink and overcomplicate food and just had a happy, healthy relationship with it.
I remember like seeing a study and it was like 50% of 10-year-old girls want to be like slimmer or like want to be like skinnier when you're 10. I definitely was one of those 50% who wanted to be like slimmer when I was 10. I definitely think so. So I feel like that's something like wrong in our society, that I would have to be feeling like that when I was that young. So yeah, I feel like that obviously goes into food and eating and kind of messes with people's heads.
Do you want to keep counting calories or, drinking lemon water or adding up your macronutrients and your micronutrients, or do you want to live normally? The latter is generally the better option, and your relationship with food changes when you reject diet culture. I used to hate stew, but now I love it because I used to hate the feeling of being full. And I used to feel like it was a bad feeling, but being well nourished shouldn't ever be a bad feeling.
It kind of came to the point where I kind of had to like sit myself down and be like, okay, there's nothing wrong with wanting to lose weight and be fit, but remember why you want to do it. Do you want to do it to impress others, or do you want to do it to feel happy and be confident in yourself?
Food is such a social thing for me as well, like going out, meeting up with my friends, lunches, dinners, that kind of thing. And back home in Bangladesh, there's like, when we have these gatherings, see, we only go every 2 years, so there's like this culture of feeding people so that they're never hungry. So, even if you're full and you've insisted that you're full, your aunties will be like, no, have some more, here, have some more. And you're there and it's like 5 servings in and you're just there like, oh God.
I've been cooking since I was very, very young. And I've been doing the cooking full time since I was 15 because, my dad was always traveling and my mom was sick. So I kind of took that responsibility on. I took on cooking because I was like, oh, I can make everybody happy with the food. And food does tie people together. Like, you could have a room of people with nothing in common, absolutely nothing. And you give them all food and they're all like, oh my God, this is amazing. Now, if we're in quarantine and stuff, like we can travel the whole world with just our palate. Add a bit of spice to something and like, oh, where are we now? Add a bit of herbs and you're like, oh my God, this is so good. Like, food does tie people together, like. But where you take inspiration from, like, that's what ties cultures together. It's what ties friendships together. It ties everything together, really.
Myself and like my family have a farm, and I only help out when needs be because of how much the farm is had to downscale in recent years. Like, there's just, it's not the main source of income, and it's not, yeah, like there's not an awful lot of work to be done there because of how small it's getting. Yeah, it's the way that farming has kind of evaporated for an awful lot of people because of the convenience of modern life. And it's just making it harder and harder for smaller farms to kind of have it as a way of living or as a viable option for them. Unless you have like 400 plus acres and an army of contractors. But I really feel like the Irish farmer and the old family farmer are kind of become a thing of the past, and that's like, I don't know, like fewer and fewer farmer sons are gonna opt to get the green cert, and you know, I probably won't either, and I don't know, I get like a real sense of loss.
Talking about issues like climate change or just environmental issues as a young person can just feel like you're just talking into a void.
Like, Generation Z have tried so hard to try and save the planet. But we're not the problem. Mother Nature is literally like, fuck you.
There are still people out there who believe it doesn't exist. Some people still deny the existence of climate change. And that is scary.
My entire family live in Bangladesh. So if rising sea levels happen at the rate that they're happening now, in the next few years, my entire family could be dead because they've drowned and the whole country's gone underwater.
We're destroying our planet, and along with that, we're destroying ourselves and our future generations.
They should really be fining people that damage the environment due to their businesses.
I cannot comprehend their incessant need to dismiss younger people.
We don't have the privilege of time. People like to leave things to the last minute. I'm guilty of it myself. But that's okay with schoolwork and work deadlines. You can't leave something that puts where we live at risk to the last minute. Each report that comes out, the time is getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And it won't last forever. For our generation, it's not how many kids will I have, it's should I have kids? Should I bring them into a world that only has 10 years? Less, 5, 6 by then.
But if we want to stop global warming, then we have to change the way our power works. And as idealistic as it sounds to go for green energy, realistically, the best option is nuclear, and obviously there's a stigma against it. There's a huge difference between how nuclear energy was made back then versus how it is now.
So being like 18, I've always loved to have my own car because it's more freedom and more independence, I guess. But because it's so expensive to have a car in Ireland, I can't afford to have a car as much as I love one.
I've always kind of had this like massive fear of learning how to drive. I guess because I don't want to die in a car accident. But I know I can't really be like relying on everyone to drive me everywhere. So I hope one day I'll learn how to drive. But for now, I think I'm just gonna take the bus and walk everywhere. Yeah.
I cannot wait to have my own car. I'm looking forward to transporting myself without having to explain to anyone where I'm going and then charging me for it.
In charity shops, you know, just like, it takes a little bit more work, but you can find really original pieces, and it really helps you kind of develop your style. And I don't know, it's funner too, because it's like a little scavenge hunt. Like my bags, all my favourite bags are my mum's from when she was younger. And that's the thing, ethically sourced things and sustainable brands they aren't always expensive. Like you can get things in a charity shop, like a new leather jacket for €8. And it's like not worn, it's very new, it isn't ripped, it isn't damaged. It's perfect.
The thing is, I don't try my best. Really. Like, I could do better for the environment. Like, I do buy fast fashion. And the worst thing is that I'm so, like, aware of it not being a good thing and still doing it. Yeah. Yeah, it's probably bad that I'm so, like, aware of it not being good. But, yeah. Thought of the day.
You know, there's going to be this group of people who are going to say, you know what, I don't care. I'm going to fight for what I want to fight for. We need change. We need it now. And I really hope that would happen, because enough is enough, really. We need to fight against this 1% and say, no, I want to live.